Welcome back to Change Your Life. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of Lincoln penny value coins, exploring their iconic design, hidden treasures, and shocking history as we reveal some of the most valuable and ultra-rare pennies from the United States of America. The coins featured in this video include 1997 Lincoln Memorial Penny, No Mint Mark, Philadelphia. 2012 Lincoln Union Shield Penny, No Mint Mark, Philadelphia. 2002 Lincoln Memorial Penny, No Mint Mark, Philadelphia. These pennies are struck in copper-plated zinc composition. The earlier coins feature the classic Lincoln Memorial reverse design, while the 2012 penny features the modern Union Shield reverse, symbolizing unity and strength in American coinage. At first glance, these coins may appear dirty, worn, and heavily circulated, just ordinary pocket change used in everyday transactions. But don't be fooled. Certain rare mint errors, varieties, and high-grade condition examples have turned some of these seemingly common pennies into collector treasures worth thousands, and in rare cases, even more, dollars today. Money bag. So before you spend that old penny sitting in your pocket or coin jar, stick around, because you might be holding a hidden fortune in your hands. Backhand index pointing right first up. Coin number 1, a small copper-colored coin sits quietly in someone's palm. Just 1 cent. Something most people barely notice anymore. But sometimes the smallest coins carry the longest stories. And the 1997 Lincoln Memorial Penny is one of those coins that quietly traveled through the everyday life of millions while holding a piece of American history in its design. To most people it looks ordinary. Scratched, dull, maybe a little dirty from years of circulation. Yet this tiny coin has a story that began long before it entered anyone's pocket. The penny itself belongs to one of the longest-running coin designs in American history, the famous Lincoln Memorial Cent. This design traces its origins back to the early 20th century when the United States Mint decided to honor one of the most respected figures in the nation's history, Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln's portrait appeared on the cent beginning in 1909, marking the first time a real historical figure was placed on a circulating American coin. By the time the year 1997 arrived, the Lincoln penny had already been part of everyday American life for generations. The front of the coin still carried Lincoln's calm profile, looking toward the right, while the reverse displayed the iconic image of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. Hidden within the tiny columns of that building is an amazing detail, a miniature statue of Abraham Lincoln seated inside the memorial. It is so small that many people never notice it unless they examine the coin closely. The 1997 version without a mint mark was struck in one of the most historic minting facilities in the country, the Philadelphia Mint. For much of American coin history, Philadelphia coins did not display mint marks, and even in modern times many pennies from this mint continue that tradition. That small absence of a letter quietly tells collectors where the coin was created. Like most pennies from the late 20th century, the 1997 Lincoln Memorial Cent was made using a copper-plated zinc composition. At its core lies zinc, while the outer layer is a thin coating of copper that gives the coin its familiar reddish appearance. Over time, however, circulation changes that look. Coins become darker, scratched, and sometimes heavily worn as they move through thousands of transactions. And that is exactly what happened to many of these pennies. When they were first released, they left the mint in bright rolls, shining with fresh copper color. Banks distributed them to businesses. Cashiers handed them to customers. Children dropped them into piggy banks. For decades they traveled through grocery stores, parking meters, vending machines, and countless everyday purchases across the United States. Most people never paid attention to them. A penny was simply a penny, the smallest unit of American currency. Many ended up forgotten in jars or drawers, slowly building small piles of spare change in homes across the country. Yet coin collectors often look at such coins very differently. Where others see an ordinary cent, collectors see a tiny artifact of history. Every coin carries subtle details that tell its story. The sharpness of Lincoln's portrait. The tiny letters in the motto, "In God We Trust." The delicate columns of the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Over years of circulation, those details slowly soften, giving each coin a unique appearance shaped by time. For collectors, examining those small details is part of the fascination. Sometimes collectors search for unusual striking characteristics, small variations, or minting quirks that occur during the production process. When a coin shows something slightly different, a design shift, a faint doubling of letters, or another unusual detail, it suddenly becomes much more interesting to the hobby community. That curiosity keeps collectors searching through bags of pennies and rolls from banks, hoping to discover something unexpected. But even beyond collecting, the Lincoln Memorial penny represents something larger than its tiny value. It connects modern Americans to a figure whose leadership shaped the nation during one of its most difficult periods. Every time someone holds that coin, they are holding a small tribute to the legacy of Abraham Lincoln and the ideals he represented. Imagine how many miles a single 1997 penny may have traveled since the day it was minted. It might have crossed multiple states, changed hands thousands of times, and witnessed countless everyday moments in people's lives. Each scratch on its surface tells part of that quiet journey through time. That is the hidden beauty of coins like the 1997 Lincoln Memorial penny. They are small, often overlooked. Yet inside that tiny piece of copper-colored metal lives more than a century of American coinage history, waiting for someone to pause, look closely, and realize that even the simplest penny can carry a story worth remembering. A tiny copper-colored coin sits quietly in someone's hand. Just 1 cent. So small that many people barely notice it anymore. But sometimes the most ordinary coin hides a much deeper story. And the 2002 Lincoln Memorial penny is one of those coins that traveled silently through millions of transactions while carrying a piece of American history in its design. At first glance it may appear worn, scratched, or even dirty from years of circulation. Yet behind that simple surface lies a coin connected to more than a century of American coinage tradition. The penny belongs to the long-running Lincoln Memorial cent, a design that became one of the most recognizable coins in the history of the United States. The story of this design began when the United States Mint decided to honor one of the most respected figures in American history, Abraham Lincoln. When Lincoln's portrait first appeared on the penny in 1909, it marked a historic moment. It was the first time the image of a real American president appeared on a circulating U.S. coin. For decades afterward, the Lincoln penny remained part of everyday life across the country. By the time the year 2002 arrived, generations of Americans had already grown up seeing Lincoln's calm profile on the front of the coin. His portrait faces toward the right, surrounded by the familiar inscriptions "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the year of minting. The design is simple, but it carries deep symbolism connected to the nation's history. Turn the coin over, and the reverse reveals the iconic image of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. The building appears small on the coin, yet its details are surprisingly precise. If someone looks very closely, they can even see the tiny statue of Abraham Lincoln seated inside the memorial. That miniature detail makes the Lincoln Memorial penny one of the most intricate small designs ever used on everyday American currency. The 2002 penny without a mint mark was struck at the historic Philadelphia Mint, the oldest minting facility in the United States. For much of the country's coin history, Philadelphia coins did not display a mint mark, and even in modern years many pennies continue that tradition. When collectors see a penny without a letter under the date, they recognize that it likely originated from this historic mint. Like other pennies of its era, the 2002 Lincoln Memorial cent was produced using a copper-plated zinc composition. Inside the coin is a core made mostly of zinc, while the outside is coated with a thin layer of copper. This structure gives the penny its familiar reddish color when new. Over time, however, the surface slowly darkens as the coin passes through years of circulation. When these coins first left the mint in 2002, they were bright and shiny. Fresh rolls were sent to banks across the country. Businesses received them for daily transactions. Cashiers placed them in change trays, and customers carried them away in their pockets. Some coins ended up in piggy banks, others disappeared into jars or drawers, slowly becoming part of everyday household change. Over the years, those pennies traveled everywhere. Grocery stores, vending machines, parking meters, and small purchases all relied on them. Each exchange left tiny marks on the surface. Scratches appeared. Edges softened. The once bright copper color slowly faded into darker shades of brown. These signs of wear show just how long the coin has been part of daily life. For coin collectors, however, even a worn penny can become something interesting. Collectors often examine coins closely, studying the fine details of the design and the sharpness of the strike. They look at the lettering, the spacing of the date, and the condition of the memorial building on the reverse. Small variations in minting sometimes appear, and those details can turn a common coin into something much more fascinating within the world of coin collecting. Searching through pennies has become a hobby for many people. Some collectors go through entire jars of spare change hoping to discover unusual details or rare variations hidden among ordinary coins. The excitement comes from the possibility that something unexpected might appear among the most common pieces of currency. But beyond collecting, the Lincoln Memorial penny represents something meaningful in American culture. It connects everyday people to the memory of Abraham Lincoln and the ideals he represented: unity, perseverance, and leadership during one of the most difficult chapters in the nation's history. Think about the journey of a single 2002 penny. From the powerful presses inside the Philadelphia Mint, to banks and businesses across the country, to the hands of countless people who may never have looked at it closely. It may have traveled thousands of miles over the years, passing silently from one moment of everyday life to the next. And that is the quiet mystery of coins. They move through time without anyone noticing. Yet inside a small piece of copper-colored metal like the 2002 Lincoln Memorial penny lives a story that connects history, craftsmanship, and the simple transactions of daily life, a story waiting for someone to slow down, look closer, and realize that even the smallest coin can carry a remarkable journey. A small copper-colored coin rests quietly in the palm of a hand. Just 1 cent. Something most people ignore without a second thought. Yet sometimes the smallest coins carry stories that travel through decades of history. The 2012 Lincoln Union Shield penny is one of those coins. It looks ordinary at first glance, a penny that may be scratched, worn, or darkened after years of circulation. But hidden within its design is a symbol of American unity and a continuation of a coin tradition that has lasted for more than a century. The story of this coin begins with the long legacy of the Lincoln cent, one of the most recognizable coins ever produced by the United States Mint. When the portrait of Abraham Lincoln first appeared on the penny in 1909, it was a historic moment in American coinage. It was the first time the face of a real American president appeared on a circulating coin, marking the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. Since then, the Lincoln penny has remained a constant presence in everyday life across the United States. By the early 2000s, the design of the penny had already gone through several transformations. For decades the reverse showed the famous Lincoln Memorial, but eventually the United States Mint introduced a new symbol to represent the strength and unity of the nation. That symbol became the Union Shield, the powerful design that appears on the reverse of the modern Lincoln cent. The Union Shield design represents the idea that individual states are united under a single federal government. The shield's vertical stripes symbolize the states themselves, while the horizontal bar across the top represents the federal government holding them together. Above the shield appears the national motto E pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one. It is a simple design, yet it carries a powerful message about the unity of the nation. The 2012 penny without a mint mark was produced at the historic Philadelphia Mint, one of the oldest and most important minting facilities in the United States. For much of American history, coins struck in Philadelphia did not display a mint mark. Even in modern times, many pennies from this mint continue that tradition, meaning the absence of a letter beneath the date quietly reveals the coin's origin. Like most modern pennies, the 2012 Lincoln Union Shield cent is made from a copper-plated zinc composition. Beneath the thin copper coating lies a zinc core that forms the majority of the coin structure. When the coins are first struck, they shine with a bright reddish color. But once they begin circulating through everyday transactions, that shine slowly fades as the coin collects scratches, fingerprints, and small marks from constant use. When these pennies first left the mint in 2012, they were packed into large rolls and distributed to banks throughout the country. From there they entered everyday life, handed from cashier to customer, dropped into coin jars, and carried in pockets and wallets across cities and towns. Over the years they paid for countless small purchases: a newspaper, a piece of candy, a bus ride, or spare change returned from a grocery store purchase. As time passed, most of these pennies became heavily circulated. Their surfaces darkened, their edges softened, and the once bright copper color faded into deeper shades of brown. To many people they remained nothing more than ordinary pocket change. But coin collectors often see something different. They examine coins closely, studying the details that most people overlook. The sharpness of Lincoln's portrait. The crispness of the shield design. The alignment of letters and numbers. Small differences in the minting process sometimes create subtle variations that collectors find fascinating. Searching through pennies has become a hobby for many collectors who enjoy the thrill of discovery. A simple jar of spare change can become a miniature treasure hunt. Each coin is inspected under bright light or magnification, revealing tiny design elements that might otherwise go unnoticed. Even when a coin is not rare, it still holds meaning. The Lincoln Union Shield penny represents the continuation of one of America's longest-running coin traditions. For more than a century, the Lincoln cent has carried the image of a president who guided the nation through its most difficult era and preserved the union of the states. Imagine the journey of a single 2012 penny. From the powerful presses inside the Philadelphia Mint, to banks and businesses across the country, to the hands of countless people who may never have looked at it twice. It may have traveled hundreds or even thousands of miles over the years, passing silently from one moment of everyday life to another. That is the quiet magic of coins. They move through time unnoticed,